Hello, good evening, and welcome back. Back on the bus to cutting taxes. Well done. Back to reality. Snap back to reality. General election 2019. Boris Johnson pledges cut to national insurance. Jolly good. We're always told this fear-mongering whereby, if you cut taxes, that'll mean a decrease in government revenue, which clearly must mean that everybody's going to be worse off because clearly everybody's best when they have nothing to themselves and the government owns everything. Except for every single time it's been tried and it's never worked and it's just resulted in mass death. But, good news instead of that. Boris Johnson aims to change national insurance rules so workers will not have to pay it until they earn £12,500. However, that particular goal does not have a time frame associated with it. So instead of that, they've said, he later confirmed to the BBC it would be raised to £9,500 in the first budget of a Tory government, with no timetable for the additional £3,000. So, 9,500. Let's work with that. The current threshold sees workers paying national insurance contributions once they earn £8,628 a year. And no, national insurance is not the same as income tax. If only. Mr. Johnson had promised to raise the threshold to £12,500 during the Tory leadership contest. He told the BBC this was now an ambition of his government and the time frame would be announced at their first budget if they are elected. And this is just a rule of sales, essentially, which is don't promise more than you can deliver. People are always happy if they think one thing and then they get a better outcome, not if they then get a worse one. So you can start with 9,500. If you wish to raise it to 12,500, then go with that. But nonetheless, at least there is some inkling of, thankfully, lower taxes. The PM said bringing the £9,500 threshold sooner would help with the cost of living, true, and put £500 in the pocket of everybody, although a later press release claimed that the saving would be around £100 per person, and the Institute for Fiscal Studies said the threshold would save workers about £85 per year. Which isn't nothing, but of course it is most effective for the people who are the marginal earners, the low-income earners. It helps them out the most. This does, of course, still maintain a marginal tax rate, which naturally I'm against, but nonetheless, and the reason I'm against it is because then that discourages people from earning more, because it's the same thing as you wanting to tax particular products in order to discourage people from using them. You tax alcohol and cigarettes higher because you don't want people to use them. Because they're more harmful and you can put that money to good use, sure, whatever the argument is, nonetheless, the point is you tax them higher so people don't use them. In the same instance, you're now taxing wealth higher because you don't want people to be wealthy. Some people will actually openly admit that and say, yes, the wealth inequality is worse than everybody being poor. I disagree completely because economic mobility is still functioning. What I mean by that is that when people say, it's the top 1%, or whichever percentile they wish to pick, top 10%, top 20%, whatever it is, that is not a static monolith. It is a group of people, but those groups change. Just like you go through stages in your life as you age and you grow up. If we were to say a particular proportion of the country is under 20 years of age, you don't expect it to be the same people in 20 years' time. Or you don't expect it to be the same people as it was 100 years ago. Well, of course not. But for some reason, people seem to think that that is the case when it comes to income. That the top 10%, it's always the same people, and aren't they evil? It's like, well, no. I mean, somebody who's in the bottom 20% now, a young person, I believe this is right, especially if they're under 20, has a greater chance of being in the top 20% within the next 10 years than not. From the bottom 20% to the top 20%, it's more than likely that they're going to get there within 10 years. Because these percentiles are not the same people. This is the point of economic mobility. And also why marginal tax rates are abhorrent. But they say it would cost the government £2 billion. Well, if you also cut spending, then you can really help that. The government shouldn't be doing these things. It should be left down to the people to be able to make their own choices and not have them forced upon them. But that's just my natural libertarian speaking out. But Xiao Hu, a research economist with the IFS, said, without knowing the proposed timescale of the increase, we do not know how big a policy this is. They're saying because if it is raised to £12,500, which would save workers up to £465 a year, it would cost the government £11 billion. They throw these billions around as if they mean nothing, don't they? So, as it was a slip of the tongue, essentially, they are suggesting that, as BBC political correspondent Nick Erdley suggests, that it sounded like Mr Johnson had accidentally revealed his big election tax pledge. Mr Johnson said, on the correction, "We want to operate in a prudent way, but we do want to help now with the cost of living, while simultaneously having the funds we need to invest into the NHS, police officers and education as well." I'm all for, again, people being able to make their own choices. When it comes to healthcare, surely you don't want something as important, as vital as healthcare, for the government to decide what you can and what you can't get. Specifically when we've seen with Bristol, for example, that they will deny service to you if they don't like what you think. That isn't acceptable. You should have options. You should be able to decide what happens to you. Education as well. Yes, you should be able to decide where you are educated and where your children are educated. You should also be able to decide that if you want to homeschool them, then you can. But some governments seem to have a problem with this. And the same then goes for daycare, that they just want children away from the parents straight away, because they need to be indoctrinated straight away. China's good with this. So of course Labour are annoyed because, hey, they don't want people to be making money. And they're complaining, but of course they will, as they are communists. But we shall see what the other parties say about national insurance. The Liberal Democrats announced in their manifesto earlier that they plan to review the tax and national insurance status of employees, dependent contractors and freelancers to ensure fair and comparable treatment and to modernise rights to make them fit for the age of the gig economy. So they're not saying anything. Green Party don't care, they're never going to get in. Labour has yet to publish its manifesto, but in an announcement about its plans for the living wage earlier this month, the party pledged not to raise income tax or national insurance contributions for the bottom 95% of earners. They want capital flight, they don't want anybody rich. The SNP says on its website it would oppose any increases in national insurance. I mean, I do agree. You can cut taxes and then you'll be earning more money anyway, so go with that. 12% tax, flat tax, go with that. But as always, let me know what you guys think down below. I'm always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. Do you think this is actually a step in the right direction, considering what Boris Johnson had said before about corporation tax? I'm always intrigued to hear what you guys have to say. Let me know down below. Thank you very much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.